Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're putting on our helmets, lighting a torch, and stepping back into the damp corridors of the keep on the
Oh,
borderlands.
yeah. Always a good time.
Right. And specifically, today we're zooming in on one very specific hole in the wall in the Caves of Chaos, which is the sea orc lair.
Yeah, and it sounds a bit clinical, right? When you just use the letter C.
It really does. Like option C on a test.
Exactly. But this is actually, it's one of the most deceptively complex ecosystems in the entire module.
And that's exactly what I love about digging into this source material. Because at first glance, you look at the map and you think, okay, another room, another group of orcs to fight. You loot the chest and you move on.
Yeah, the standard dungeon crawl assumption.
Right. But when you actually read the notes, and really read them, you realize that the designers weren't just, copy-pasting monsters here. There's a very specific logic, almost a personality to this tribe. Because, well, not all oracles are created equal. So, okay, let's unpack this.
It is distinct. If you remember our deep dive into Lair B,
Oh, yeah.
that was all about aggression, right? They had the heads on spikes outside, they were posturing, they wanted you to know they were dangerous.
Very loud.
Right, very loud. But Lair C is different. It's sort of the introverted tactical cousin of Lair B.
The quiet ones are always the worst, honestly.
In this case, definitely. This lair is all about subtle tactical ambushes, finding hidden value in actual garbage, and surprisingly, secret political back channels that, honestly, most players completely miss.
Wow. So our mission today is to break down this ambush lifestyle. We're going to look at their unique defensive network, which is a masterclass in dungeon design, and we're going to look at the loot, including why a literal bucket of dirty water might be worth more than the chest sitting right next to it.
That bucket is legendary.
It really is. And finally, we'll discuss the geopolitical implications of their secret alliances.
It's a dense lair, for sure. Lots of layers to peel back.
So let's start right at the threshold. You're the adventurer, right?
Uh-huh.
You've hiked up the ravine, you look at the entrance to Cave C. What are you seeing?
You're seeing absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing. And that is the first test. Unlike their neighbors who advertise their presence with all those grisly trophies, there are 0 guards posted outside Cave C. No sentries leaning on spears, no goblins smoking pipes. It just looks completely abandoned, or at least comfortably unguarded.
Which, if you've been playing these games for any amount of time, sets off every single alarm bell in your head.
Oh, absolutely.
An unguarded fortress is highly suspicious.
Precisely. But it tempts you to walk right in, right? The design lures you forward. So you step into the cave mouth, your eyes are adjusting to the dark, and you walk about 10, maybe 11 feet in.
Wait, 11 feet? That's a very specific number in the source text. Why 11?
Yeah, so think about the standard marching order in these old school dungeon crawls.
Okay.
You're usually moving in pairs, right? 2 by 2, down a 10-foot corridor.
Right. Fighters up front, squishy characters in the back.
Exactly. So 11 feet means your frontline fighters, your tanks are well past the threshold. And your second rank, maybe the cleric or the thief, is just crossing into the danger zone.
Oh, wow.
You are fully committed to the hallway at that point. You aren't peeking in, you are inside.
And that's when the ceiling falls on you.
Effectively, yes. This tribe relies heavily on a passive mechanical defense. There are trip strings running right across the passage, nearly invisible in the gloom.
Nasty.
You hit that string, and a heavy weighted net drops directly from the ceiling.
Paint the picture of this net for us. Because is this just a nuisance, like a spider web you brush off? Or is this a game ender?
Oh, it's a massive tactical problem. The net is 10 feet wide and 18 feet long.
18 feet.
18 feet. In a narrow tunnel that covers the entire party, front to back.
So everyone is caught.
Everyone. And it's weighted. You aren't just annoyed, you are physically pinned to the floor. But the real genius of this trap isn't just the restraint, it's the sound.
The sound.
Yeah, the text specifies that metal pieces are tied to the net meshes. So when it hits the stone floor and hits all your armor, it creates this massive echoing clatter.
So it's not just a trap, it's a dinner bell.
It's the primary alarm system for the entire complex. And the response time is what makes this tribe genuinely terrifying. This isn't a situation where you roll for initiative and see who happens to wake up.
Right.
The source material is remarkably rigorous about the timeline here.
Break down that timeline for us. The net drops. Clang. There's chaos in the hallway. What happens next?
At that exact moment, the orcs in Area 14, which is the common chamber, mobilize. And they arrive in 1 round.
1 round, wow. In most systems, that's what, 6 to 10 seconds?
Barely that.
That is barely enough time to realize you're tangled in a net, let alone pull out a dagger and cut yourself free.
Exactly. You are prone, restrained, entangled, and suddenly you are facing a squad of 9 male orcs geared up for melee.
9 of them.
9. But it gets worse.
Uh-huh.
Because the orcs from Area 15, the Common Hall, they arrive in 3 rounds.
Okay, so you have a first wave that pins you down while you're helpless, and then a second wave that reinforces them like 20 seconds later.
It's a classic hammer and anvil tactic. The net and the first wave are the anvil. They hold you in place. The second wave is the hammer that just overwhelms you.
That's brutal.
It implies a level of drilling and discipline that you really don't usually associate with chaotic monsters. They don't rush out to meet you in the field. They wait for you to step directly onto their kill box.
It completely flips the script on the players.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually the adventurers are the ones trying to set up choke points and doorways. Here, the dungeon does it to you.
And it suggests that if you do manage to bypass this trap, say your thief actually spots the tripwire and you disable it, the rest of the lair becomes significantly more manageable.
Because they lose that element of surprise.
Right. The entire defensive doctrine of Tribe C relies on this initial catastrophic loss of momentum for the invaders. Without the net, they're just orcs in a room. With the net, they're a SWAT team.
Okay, so let's assume our intrepid party manages to slice through the net, fend off the first wave, and they start pushing deeper into the cave. They clear some rooms, and eventually they stumble upon Area 13. The source notes call this the Forgotten Room. And here's where it gets really interesting.
It does, and Forgotten is a fascinating bit of narrative misdirection by the designers.
How so?
Well, it's called Forgotten, but it's actually the most politically significant room in the entire sector.
Why? What's going on in there?
To the average orc grunt, this room is just unused storage. But the text explicitly states it is known to only 2 people. The chief of this tribe, Tribe C, and the chief of the rival tribe, Tribe B.
Wait, Tribe B. Those are the heads on spikes guys we talked about in the last deep dive.
The very same.
Yeah.
And the text clearly says these tribes are generally unfriendly to each other. They're rivals for territory, for food, for everything.
Right.
And yet, here's a secret room with a small table and 2 chairs where these 2 leaders meet to plan cooperative ventures or discuss tribal problems.
That adds such a rich layer of duplicity to the whole dungeon. The grunts are out there posturing and skirmishing in the ravine, but the leaders are back here basically drinking wine and colluding.
It's pure realpolitik in a goblinoid cave. It tells us that these leaders are highly intelligent, pragmatic, and totally willing to deceive their own followers for the sake of survival or power.
They might be planning raids on the keep together, for all we know.
Or colluding to wipe out the goblins downstairs. Anything is possible.
So what's actually in this room, physically, if you walk in?
It's pretty sparse. You've got the table, the 2 chairs, and a chest. And the chest contains backup weapons, bows, arrows, swords, shields.
Okay.
It feels like a bug-out bag, really, or a shared supply cache. If a diplomatic meeting goes wrong, or if they need to arm up quickly, the gear is right there.
Standard dungeon dressing, really. But digging through the notes, there is something else in this room that I think is the absolute highlight of the entire module.
Ah, yes, you mean the bucket.
I mean the bucket.
This is a quintessential example of testing player psychology. In the southeast corner of this room, there is an old bucket filled with black, stagnant water.
It's gross. It smells bad. Everything about it screams, ignore me, this is just flavor text.
Right. In a modern video game, this would literally just be background art. You see a gross bucket, you walk past it. But in this old school design philosophy, everything is a potential container.
So if a player is brave enough, or maybe foolish enough to interact with this filth, what happens?
Well, first comes the punishment. Nesting at the very bottom of the bucket are 2 giant centipedes.
Of course there are,
Yeah.
because nothing good happens in a bucket of sludge.
Exactly. And we have to clarify, in the source material, a giant centipede isn't just a bug that bites you for a tiny bit of hit point damage. Their poison save is nasty.
What does it do?
It causes illness, which means you are debilitated. You
Yeah.
save versus poison, or you are suddenly weak, you can't fight effectively. Reaching into that bucket is a massive, massive risk.
Right.
But hidden directly under the centipedes are 2 waterproof pouches. One has gems worth 50 gold pieces. The other has a solid mix of gold and silver.
So the best loot in the entire room isn't in the locked chest with the backup swords. It's in the dirty water with the bugs.
It's a lesson the dungeon actively teaches you. The chief knows adventurers will go straight for the chest. He knows they will ignore the trash in the corner. He is using your own biases against you to hide his personal stash.
That is so clever. It really rewards the players who are thorough to the point of absolute paranoia.
Or the ones who just like poking absolutely everything with a 10-foot pole.
Always bring the pole. That's rule number one. So moving on from the secret diplomacy room, we should probably briefly touch on the general population areas. We mentioned them as the first responders to that net trap earlier.
Right, areas 14 and 15. It's important to establish the population density here. Area 14 is the common chamber, basically the living quarters.
Okay.
You've got 9 males in there, plus females and young. These males are the ones armed with shields and swords.
They are the anvil you mentioned. The melee fighters.
Correct. They run out and clog the hallway. Then you have Area 15, the common hall. This is their mess hall and meeting area.
And who's in there?
6 males and 4 females. But the key tactical detail here is the weaponry. 2 of those males have crossbows.
Ah, there's the hammer.
Exactly. In the tight confines of a cave corridor, firing into a melee is usually really tricky. But if the first wave has pinned the party under a heavy net or pushed them back against the wall, those crossbows can just wreak havoc from the second line.
It's a totally combined arms approach.
It really is. Melee holds the line, ranged support punishes the intruders.
It reinforces that if you get caught in that net, you are literally fighting the entire tribe's mechanics at once.
It's explicitly designed to overwhelm you. If you run the numbers, that is 15 fighting orcs converging on a single choke point in less than 20 seconds. That is a highly lethal encounter for a low-level party.
All right, let's say you survived the swarm. You've fought them off. You've looted the dirty bucket, hopefully without getting the centipede illness.
Well,
You've discovered the secret political alliance. Now you are finally kicking down the door to the boss's room. Area 16. The chief's quarters.
and once again, the source text completely subverts your expectations here. How do players normally enter a boss room?
Sneakily right. You listen at the door.
Yeah.
You try to hear breathing or footsteps. You're trying to get a surprise round so you can act before the boss does.
And the designer fully anticipates that. The text says there is a guard posted inside the door specifically to prevent this.
Wait, not outside in the hall.
Inside, he is standing right there on the other side of the wood. And the text describes him as being impossible to surprise. As soon as the door opens, even a tiny crack, he immediately shouts an alarm.
So there goes your stealth entry. Completely out the window.
Gone. You are fighting on their terms instantly. And the room itself is quite interesting. It's stocked with supplies, barrels, boxes. It implies this tribe is very well fed and heavily provisioned.
Any good loot in the boxes?
Well, there's a detail for the observant explorer. There is one small wine barrel in there. It's heavy, 400 coins of weight, but it contains high-quality wine worth 55 gold pieces.
Another hidden gem in a mundane container.
Exactly. But the real threat in this room is the chief himself.
Let's look at his stat block.
Yeah.
What are we actually dealing with when we face the chief of Tribe C?
He is an absolute tank. He fights as a second-level fighter, which makes him a 3-hit dice equivalent monster, depending on the rule set you're using.
Okay, pretty beefy.
But the kicker is his armor. He is wearing plate mail and carrying a shield. That gives him an armor class of 3.
Wow. For listeners who might not be familiar with the old descending armor class system AC3 that is extremely hard to hit.
Very hard. A standard level 1 fighter might need to roll a 16 or 17 on a 20-sided die just to put a scratch on him. He is a walking fortress.
That's intimidating.
And his offense is even scarier, because he wields a magical weapon, a magic hand axe +1.
A magic weapon. That is a huge deal for a low-level adventure.
It is a massive deal. But it's the special tactical ability the text gives him that makes him a nightmare. The notes say he can hurl this axe at opponents and still attack normally in the same round.
Wait, break that down for me. He throws the weapon, hits you, and then hits you again.
That's the implication, yeah. It implies either a magical returning property to the axe or just supernatural speed. He can engage the wizard standing at the back of the room with a thrown axe and simultaneously chop the fighter standing right in front of him.
That is insane action economy. He's basically doing the work of 2 orcs every single turn.
Exactly. He dominates the battlefield. He can target the squishy characters while tanking the front line. But, and this goes back to the politics we were discussing, he is not a suicide warrior.
Ah, he has an exit strategy.
He does. Hidden behind a tapestry in his room, there is a secret door. It leads into a tunnel that connects directly to
Don't tell me.
Tribe B.
The rival tribe.
The alliance comes full circle. The text notes he will only use this secret door in desperate peril. He doesn't want to run to his rival because it probably makes him look weak, but he absolutely prefers it to dying.
That is such a fantastic piece of world building. It connects the physical geography of the dungeon to the social structure of the monsters. It's not just a random escape tunnel, it is a diplomatic lifeline.
And it creates such a dynamic story for the players. If he escapes, he doesn't just vanish off the board, he goes next door. Now you have a recurring villain who knows your tactics.
Okay, so let's say the party manages to corner him. They take the hits, they survive the magic axe, they block the exit, and they bring him down. The fight is over. It's loot time. So what does this all mean for the loot hunter?
Well, the chief has one last test for you. One final decoy.
Of course he does. What is it this time?
Sitting on a table near his bed is a copper bowl. It's finely wrought, but it's filled with absolute garbage. Bones, rinds, filth. And the bowl itself is heavily tarnished to look like it's completely worthless.
It's the bucket trick all over again.
It is the exact same trick. A casual glance suggests it's worth maybe 10 silver pieces. If you take the time to clean it off and appraise it properly, it is actually worth 50 gold pieces. He hides his wealth in plain sight by disguising it as trash.
I'm sensing a very deep psychological profile of this orc chief. He's cynical, he's paranoid, and he clearly thinks adventurers are snobs who simply won't touch dirty things.
And honestly, he's usually right. He understands his enemy perfectly. But the real prize, the item that makes this entire dungeon run worth the risk, is hidden in a chest of drawers.
Okay, what is it?
It's a sack containing platinum pieces, which is great. But the sack is tied shut with a coil of rope, specifically a rope of climbing.
Oh, wow. A rope of climbing at low levels is, it's freedom.
It completely changes the genre of the game. You get a 50-foot rope that snakes up walls on command, ties itself securely, and holds huge amounts of weight. Suddenly, you aren't just walking down hallways anymore.
Right, you're climbing vertical shafts, you're bypassing pit traps entirely.
You're descending into ravines safely. And the chief was just using this incredible magical artifact as a twist tie for his money sack.
To him, it was probably just a really good, strong piece of rope. To the players, it's an artifact of immense utility.
It's a fantastic reward for a really tough fight. It opens up the map in ways that a simple +1 sword just doesn't.
So let's pull back for a second and look at the Sea Orc lair as a whole. If we are summarizing the design philosophy here, what are the big takeaways for you from the source text?
First, I would definitely call it the passive-aggressive defense.
Oh, I like that.
The lack of guards outside is a deliberate lure. The net trap is a force multiplier that dictates the flow of the entire battle. It teaches players early on that if things look too safe, they are probably about to die.
And second, I'd say it's the trash or treasure principle.
Always check the garbage.
Yeah.
The bucket of black water with the centipedes, the tarnished copper bowl with the bones in it. This lair explicitly rewards players who interact with the environment, even the highly unpleasant parts of it. It punishes the squeamish.
And finally, the hidden complexity of it all.
The politics. The secret forgotten room and the bolt hole connecting Tribe C to Tribe B. It completely transforms these monsters from static, boring stat blocks into living, thinking factions with real alliances and rivalries.
Which actually brings me to a final provocative thought I want to leave you, the listener, with today. Sort of a what-if scenario based on the text.
Yes, here.
We know these two chiefs are meeting in secret. We know they're planning cooperative ventures. And we know the Chief of C will run to B if his life is in desperate peril.
Right. They are intrinsically linked.
So what happens if the adventurers come in, wipe out Tribe C, kill the chief, but they leave Tribe B completely untouched?
Oh, man, that is the million gold piece question right there.
Does the chief of Tribe B simply shrug and say, well, there goes my rival, more food for me? Or does he inherit the alliance's secrets? Does he absorb the refugees and the survivors from Tribe C?
You could literally end up facing a super tribe the next time you go back to the caves. You'd have the raw aggression and numbers of Tribe B mixed with the tactical discipline and surviving veterans of Tribe C.
Exactly. Or does the sudden death of his only secret ally make the Tribe B chief paranoid? Does he fortify his own lair to an impossible degree because he suddenly knows someone is out there specifically hunting leaders?
It heavily suggests that your actions in one cave should have very real consequences in the next. If you kill one half of a truce, the other half reacts. The truce crumbles, or it hardens into something worse.
The dungeon is alive. You poke it and it moves.
And sometimes it bites you with a giant centipede.
That it does. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up our deep dive into the Sea Orc lair. Thank you so much for joining us as we unpack this amazing source material. Keep your swords sharp, and for the love of the gods, check the bucket.
Do it carefully.
Very, very carefully. See you next time.